Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
And please do subscribe, guys. All three channels, Hearts Ohm and EEARTS, and also Evolutionary Energy Arts. Going to start off over here in Pasadena, Texas. Chemical plant fire was caused by an accidental tanker leak, so says a fire marshal's office. Well, it was quite a big explosion. And, again, there's been just way too many of these chemical fires, chemical explosions, chemical leaks.
You know, it's always the same boring story. It's like they create a problem to nauseam so people will run out and say, oh, let's please do something, pass some more laws, please, please, please. And it's just, again, it's nauseating.
Well, I think this is, again, referring to what's going on with the last video over on Evolutionary, where we were talking about all those people coming over the border. I think they've been very, very busy. And, this is basically a suburb of Houston. So if you look at the area here, this is Pasadena. Now, Houston, for me, is one of the biggest concerns in the country from a strategic point of view. This is a very important port, and it's also our fourth biggest city. And yeah, it's arguably the most important port here in the Gulf. So I would be very, very concerned about these type of events in the Houston area. Houston has a diverse economy as well. It's again one of those areas to be aware of. We've talked about other areas in these times that could be targeted by these sleepy cellular units. Just think about it too. I mean, we were just looking at Brownsville on the last Evolutionary video and showing all the people coming across, and now we have nationals in mass from the fine dining ware country coming in. And again, most of these people are male and of a certain age. It's pretty obvious to many people what's going on. And you had a chlorine leak from Biolab that caused a shelter in place. Now, this was off of I-10. Where's this? Well, this is around Lake Charles. Well, these two places are only a couple hours apart. And it's just a straight cut across on a highway. So it's two events in a few hours of each other. Doesn't anybody else think this looks suspicious? I mean, I would say 99.9% of you guys do. But what about the powers that be? You never hear people connect this. You never, as you look at this, is Westlake, and this is in Louisiana. And honestly, I personally had looked at property closer to the coastline, and just felt that Dallas and Houston, these are two of the biggest cities in the entire country. Houston again is the fourth biggest. It's growing fast. At some point, it'll overtake Chicago, and be the third biggest city. And it's a very strategic point. So when it comes to wartime, this would be a place where the enemy would want to control it, and they'd want to also cause all sorts of issues for it. So just my 2 cents, guys.
I know, but it does, that does seem to be a reoccurring pattern. When one thing happens in an area, it seems to happen again, not too far away and not very far apart. And I remember a while ago when I used to watch TV, I would see the police come up with these situations and say, oh, there was a shooting or stabbing over here, and then 5 miles away there was another one, but there's nothing, absolutely nothing linking them together. I mean, this is just par for the course.
Here we have the Yaroslav motor plant on fire in Russia, and it produces engines, especially for Russian military equipment. Do you think that's just an accident? No. Again, there's sleepy cellular units in all the countries on both sides. And again, while at the very top they understand perhaps that this is, all being done by the same forces, those farther down totally think, hey, this is a battle against the enemy. And, that's just the way it is. You have to have people totally convinced. Even when you understand that it's all drawn out, the script is in line, and the outcome is already predetermined. Now we have Montebello, California. This is a big tornado. Yes, a supercell, a tornado in Montebello, California. And let me bring that up. I forgot to bring up the little map because I just want to give clarity to people.
It is really good to have clarity and have that understanding, that deeper understanding, because we have to all live with our decisions, and to make good decisions we need good information, and we need a clear picture so we know where to point our sail.
So in other words, this is LA. Known for its tornadoes. They do happen. They're a rarity. This is the biggest one that we've seen. She laughed. She laughed. I mean, this is a West Coast girl. I've been basically an East Coast guy, but Southerner for the most part the last 15 years or so. But LA and tornadoes, kind of rare. Well, this one was significant and did damage, as you see here. Damaging tornado touches down near downtown LA. Downtown LA, we, can control the weather. We can control the weather. That's, going back to the Vietnam War, Operation Popeye. The U.S. made it flood over the Viet Cong and washed away entire villages back in the 60s and early 70s. This is much, much later down the road. The technology would only improve. As you see, look at that. Talk about ominous. I mean, you don't really want to go driving into that. As you look at here, tornado hits South Maple Ave in Montebello, tearing roof off multiple buildings, destroying multiple cars. Buildings have been damaged. Over here, you could see the roof and the damage. Honestly, I'm very, very concerned. I just have this West Coast worry as far as what will appear to be natural, and this is what it looks like when you get really close to it. Wow, that looks pretty ominous, doesn't it not? Absolutely ominous. This was a thought I just wanted to share, because the question is, who's going to buy grain from Ukraine when the soil is contaminated with depleted uranium? Unfortunately, everybody. I mean, most people won't even think about it. How many people think about it? Seriously, he knows, we know, we understand that, you have depleted uranium shells all over an area. Then you go back at some point to, becoming one of the bread baskets in the world. You're growing all sorts of, in the future, it'll be all GMO probably. Wait a minute, that's only in U.S. No, you watch. Again, everything is shifting. The power is shifting. So you watch the BRICS nations all, get in line with the GMOs. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope people wake up and will not allow these things to happen. But this is what happens when they shift power, because again, there's different focuses on different segments of the global population when the power shifts. So unfortunately, a cancer basket, absolutely. And again, what does that do? It creates business for one of the biggest lobbies in the world. And there was a lot of activity right off the bat. 4.2 France. This is interesting. We don't always see over here. This is really on the Swiss border. 4.2, that's significant. Lots of activity of significance. And you see Tajikistan over here at 5.9. There were a lot in the fives. But I think, it's just kind of a harbinger of things to come. 5.7 Papua New Guinea. 5.1 over here in Indonesia, 5.2 Santa Cruz, jump up to the Philippines, 5.6. And then we had over here in Argentina a 6.5, 210 kilometers deep. And we have one way off the edges of the plate, 4.9, Peterborough, Australia. Interesting times. Interesting times. It feels like the next 2 months will likely bring some really significant quakes. March 22nd, yesterday, 322 day. Nothing really big happened as far as, 45 and all that. That's kind of, they're just, stirring the pot. They're doing their thing. I find this just so, the irony and, the pathetic. Oh, today is World Water Day. Oh, yes. And you see Canada, United States, water cooperation. There's 3 billion people on the planet out of 8 billion, which might be decreasing, unfortunately, pretty rapidly, that don't get clean water every day. And the ones that they say do get clean water, so much of that water is chemical laden, whether it's, fluoride, chlorine, whatever else is in there. And then when we were looking at this video over here, the invasion being well underway in the USA, and there were people that were coming over the border. There was a group that I got the vibe, and then afterwards I said when I got the vibe to Cindy, she was picking up the same thing. Again, I worry about our water supply for more reasons than one. And World Water Day, this is a joke. The whole system just poisons the waterways of this world and poisons us. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's a purposeful choice, and it's not like, I think people want to excuse it by saying, we understand these corporations are all just greedy. So, and on some level that's true, but on a higher level, there's a higher purpose.
Mm-hmm. Always that higher purpose, things that are going on with these corporations, and it makes it difficult because we want to talk about solutions. We really, really do. And we're put in front of us are some really huge obstacles. And our job is to think of solutions. And right now, at this point, what is the best thing we can do? It has to be waking up people. It has to be sharing these videos, because not a single one of us on our own can do anything. But as the collective of knowledge grows, so does our consciousness and our ability to take control of that wheel. Right now, there's these people at the top. They're just basically releasing their will on us, and we are fulfilling it. But if enough of us understand that, we can really turn this ship around, and that's where we need to be.
Musk's boring plant to dump wastewater in a local river. This is a hot mess. So the locals are sounding off as they're just planning on dumping waste. And World Water Day. And again, Elon Musk, a savior? No, this guy is all about AI and the singularity. He's as much one of them as anybody is. It's just hilarious, But some people just, there's a lack of being able to see through things. But part of it's because their water's full of things and the air is full of things. And, it's the toxicity that keeps them, unfortunately, deaf, dumb, and blind. And that's what the system does. It's all about, making sure everybody is, dumbed down and all their senses are deadened. FDIC unexpectedly delays bid deadline for Silicon Valley private bank. Yeah, this is not over, and again, this is going to be a slow rolling avalanche. And ultimately, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to have the Western monetary system totally, utterly collapsed. Think in terms of what we've seen in countries like Venezuela and Argentina in the past, and many other places around the globe. The dollar. I think it was tongue in cheek when 46 said the ruble is rubbish, because he knew the ruble was going to be strengthened by all this. They understand this. They totally do. And it's the dollar that's getting dumped, and the dollar is going to be worthless. Use it to start a fire. Again, use it for TP. That's all it's going to be worth. As we see the Swiss defend 17 billion at one bond wipeout, Credit Suisse deal, as furious creditors, including David Tepper, vow to sue Switzerland. This is one of those banks that's on that list of too big to fail. And, again, things are not going smooth for a reason. It's because ultimately there's the big switch underway, and they can't have it go smooth. And when you think about people like Yellen, who does she really work for? She works for the controllers, ultimately. She truly doesn't care about us. None of them do care about us. The end of moral hazard and the dollar's debasement. When you look at what's going on, it's said the cover-up is worse than the crime. With the latest banking crisis in the U.S., it's the cleanup that could end up doing far more lasting damage. It's the end of this system and the bringing in of the new. We all know that. This is part of that big redoing. You understand. It's time to set the stage for something new. It's all part of this. It's not going to bounce back. Again, this is all about undoing one to bring in the other. And again, you can't have, you're not going to get away with things in the old U.S. that you would get away with in, say, China or Russia. That's why the old U.S. can't be anymore. And that's what's well underway right now, is the absolute total destruction of the old system. As you see, joint Russian-African bank proposed. Burkina Faso wants to use a financial institution to facilitate payments and boost trade with Moscow. Everybody wants to boost trade with Moscow. Everybody wants to boost trade with China. They're all ditching the West. It's all just one big coincidence. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's sarcasm for those of you out there that are maybe, not the regulars, but there are people that will come on that are, maybe they got the munchies because they've been up all night doing things they shouldn't do, destroying brain cells, and can't understand what's being said. Sarcasm, irony.
Sarcasm. Definitely got to have a good dose of sarcasm almost everywhere we go. But if you're one that is on this spiritual journey and you're fairly new to it, I highly, highly recommend getting a book called The Four Agreements. And with that understanding, knowing that we all have to be in agreement to play this game. Think about Monopoly. The only reason that game's able to function is because everybody agrees that those pieces of paper are worth something, or everybody agrees that this digital thing is worth something. Now, if we are able to rewrite our own game and pull in our own friends, then that's what we do. We got to be thinking about solutions.
Yes, solutions. Solutions. And really, what can we do but simply focus on what's right around us? You could have a much bigger effect on your little town than you can on the country. And again, it's going to break down into smaller units, and that's where we have to work together. Think in a global sense, an underground railroad of sorts where we're each supporting each other. Hey, I thought I saw a whole bunch of real healthy looking greens over there. Did you notice my chickens over here are laying more eggs than I could handle? Want to make a trade? There you go. It could be, hey, your roof doesn't look too good. Times are slow, but I got carpentry skills. Okay, and then what can we do for you? It's that type of thing. We have to get, the whole system is made up to have middleman after middleman after middleman leeching off of people. You pay income tax to the federal government. You may be paying income tax to your state. You get taxed on capital gains. Your parents die. They leave you what they worked hard for. The government takes their chunk. The state takes their chunk. In certain states, it's amazing. A county might take their chunk. This is ridiculous. This whole system is set up to basically just suck the life force out of every individual. The system has to go. It's going to go. It's just a matter of when people wake up and realize they will not take it anymore. So Avi Loeb has made the news in the past talking about the fact that there might be aliens out there. Oumuamua might be an alien probe, and in fact, maybe a meteorite that came and landed on Earth a few years back might be an alien probe again. So he's intent on going and digging it up and analyzing it and seeing if there's any traces of technology there instead of just natural components. And again, there are so many people out there that are former government officials that are blowing whistles on the government. But wait, are they really former government officials, or are they still active government officials blowing whistles on the government to tell you that there's extraterrestrials out there? So this is where we have to use our discernment. Yeah, a lot of them are still working for the government, even though they're tattling on the government. The government wants them to tattle at this point in time. It's tattling with a twist. Now, it doesn't mean that there are no aliens and they're all fallen angels. And again, what does that word mean, really? Again, this is such a distortion. But the reality is they want to control the narrative. Because when the time comes right, and it's not too far off, when they introduce to you some of your mythological beings, and they show you people that will make some people's knees weak. Some people will probably lose their bowels right on the spot. Others might, be all excited and thrilled. Ma, look, that's a real alien. Holy cow. It'd be like looking up and saying, there's Batman, there's Thor, there's, all these mythological beings, past and present. But the reality is, we've never been alone. And, to me and Cindy, it's really, and to many of you guys, because many of you guys have had these encounters all your life too. That's why you're drawn to us. Yeah, we've had so many encounters you can't keep track of, can't even list them. Why would certain people have that? Well, for one, when they look at people and they see the majority of people are dull, dim lights on the planet. Their lights have been snuffed. They don't have what we would call activated energy bodies. They just kind of look like zombies in a way. Again, the zombie apocalypse has been happening for a long time. And this is a byproduct of the food, the water, where you are, what you surround yourself with, energy wise. Now, when they would go by and see a yogi, that practices meditation every day and eats, pristinely, that energy is going to glow, and it's going to be very, very bright. And it would be somebody that would cause them to pause and take a closer look. This is why certain people, certain lineages to a degree, but it depends on the individual, because you could come from a very awakened lineage and still be totally asleep and still totally having your life put out by the system. Your light, that your glowing energy body dimmed by the system. It's really a choice. But people with activated energy bodies, they tend to get a lot of attention. And if I can't tell you how many people we worked on over the years, thousands, and there's been this progression where as you develop your energy body, you're going to just draw more attention. So you need to actually do things like sage more often. You need to root and ground more often. You need to recognize that, you're going to be kind of sticking out in the crowd.
Mm-hmm. And people go through stages when they are awakening, and especially if you're one that you're really clearing your body and you're clearing out the the things that are not so healthy for you, and you're moving to whole foods and you're doing detoxing. Well, guess what? This makes you even brighter. And don't think that goes unnoticed. It absolutely goes noticed. And that's why we also teach people how to sage and when to ignore certain things. Because if you're giving something attention, it's going to keep coming back. So sometimes you just have to put your hand up and say, I'm not going to entertain this, because these other entities will come in and they'll feed off of you because you're brighter. You're brighter. So all of these things need to be taken into account when you are waking up. A great bear leg lift yoga pose. That's what it's called.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think about my dad, because my dad had such a calm, peaceful energy that dogs would want to leave their owners and go sit on his lap. It was just the energy that he gave off. And the animals will recognize our energy. Do you ever have, I remember playing basketball one time, taking a break, and all of a sudden a bird landed on my shoulder. They see us as energy. This is the other big reveal. When we look at certain beings and we see them as balls of energy or of an energy pattern per se, that's how other densities see us as well. Energy patterns. And certain energy patterns are inviting, and certain ones you can just look at the pattern and know, hey, this is a nice being. And there's others that you would know, hey, this is a being we want to avoid at all costs. So make sure you work on that spiritual side, and body, mind, breath exercises like yoga. And not just the stretching. Breathe into it. This is the key. It's like, oh, I had a good yoga practice. But put your mind into every area that you feel tension and release the tension. This is all the purpose. Breathe into where it feels tight. Breathe into where it hurts. Send energy into these areas. Watch the tension dissipate. And it's the same thing with Qigong when we're doing Qigong. Ground and root. Feel your roots sink into the earth. Draw up the life force from the earth. Draw down the life force from the cosmos. Merge them consciously in yourself, strengthening yourself. These are key practices for these times. And these practices are only going to grow in importance as we exit the dark age and head deeper into the light.
Mm-hmm. Look at Green Berets. They really put in a lot of attention on teaching them about breath, teaching them about breath work, teaching them to maintain their energy, because there's so much involved when it comes to making the right decision, like being able to calculate things around you. And it's very important for these people of that nature doing certain things to have a hold of their emotions and be able to really see and sense things that are not right in front of them. So they teach this stuff in our very own military.
Absolutely. And as always, guys, we want to thank you for your support over on Patreon. So Patreon, there's different tiers, and so we have 54 Patreons at $1 a month, and there's 27 at $5, and then we have 18 Rainbow Warriors at $10 a month, and there's higher levels there as well. While we are in the system, yes, absolutely, we have to still utilize the system to try to get freedom from the system, as again, it's all about making that positive strides for positive change. Over at Ko-Fi 2, one-time donation, or you could do monthly, and you just basically change the number of coffees, and you could use cards over there of all sorts. And Evolutionary Energy Arts is the #1 medicinal foods partner. That's so nice, because these are really good people that understand the conscious evolution of the planet. So do check out their products. They have a lot of different stuff there. They're always coming out with new products. Everything we've tried has always tasted great, and been healthy at the same time. So, as always, guys, much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.